Good evening, everybody. Welcome to October 8th Finance Committee meeting. Call the meeting to order, and we can start by saying the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, everybody. Our first item on our agenda tonight is approval of minutes from, we have 3 meetings, September 4th, September 24th, and September 25th. So, and everybody should have a copy of those minutes that were emailed to you.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to accept the minutes from September 4th, 2025.
All right, I have a motion, Mark, made to accept the minutes from September 4th, 2025. I have a second? Second. Okay, Becca, second that one. All right, any bringing up the minutes from the 4th? And I sent them all out to you the other day, so let me find where I sent them. Okay, so are there any changes to the September 4th minutes? Hold on a minute. You sent them to, all right, let me check. No. Okay, anyone else, any comments? For September 4th, that was the presentation. Not hearing any, I'm going to call for a vote. For those who were not members at the time, the practice is to abstain since you weren't at the meeting. So all those in favor of approval of the minutes as submitted, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Right? Any opposed? And then any abstentions? 5 abstentions. You were here, you've been at the meeting. You missed the last one, that's fine. It's just, this is just for the 4th, only that meeting. So you were present at that one. If you want to vote, yes. All right, so was it 10-3? 10-0-3?
10-04.
Oh, 4, thank you. Okay, our next item is,
I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes from September 4th, 2025.
okay, I have a motion to accept the minutes for our meeting in public, hearing on Wednesday, September 24th, 2025.
Second.
I got a second from Arnie. All right, any questions, comments, changes? Marty?
Marty West is in there twice as Walsh.
Thank you. All right. I was also told that Joel Wolk was not present on that one, but he's listed as present. So, yeah, he reached out and told me that he was not there. So, and then Jonna, you had a couple of comments. I'm trying to figure out which ones are which. All right. This one would have been for Thursday. Right. Okay, the first two comments you sent me, Jonna, were on this one. There was one, it looks like, with Article 8, the purchase of the sidewalk tractor. You had sent me something circulated where it said Ms. Rosenblatt asked the expected amount. Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. The next one was on, I believe it was on the theater. And it says that Ms. Rosenblatt stated she didn't believe the town should take on the debt related to the theater. You asked if housing could be built on the spot.
Okay, that's what it was. I never asked if housing could be put on there, because then it makes it sound like that's what I want. I definitely don't want that. I asked if we were going to get stuck with more housing. That's a lot different than me wanting housing.
So would you like it to say you asked if someone could put housing? If so, you want to ask if we would get stuck with housing? All right.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
All right, any other changes, comments to the motion, to the minutes for September 24th? Hearing none, I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor of the minutes as amended on the floor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? All right, that motion carries. Our next of the minutes for September 25th, that Thursday.
Make a motion for September 20, to accept the minutes of September 25th, 2025.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All right, motion was made by Mark and seconded by Becca to approve the minutes as submitted for Thursday, September 25th. Any changes? I know you had one comment. It was on, it has to do the ADA.
Questioning the need for ADA compliance. I wasn't questioning the need for ADA compliance because I agree with ADA compliance, so that doesn't reflect truthfully what happened. What it was is I was incredulous over the fact that this is a brand-new school and we weren't even ADA compliant.
You were questioning why wasn't this taken care of?
Exactly. Thank you.
All right. So how about we add that Ms. Weston questioned why wasn't this addressed
Thank you, Madam
at the
Chair.
time of building? Any other? Marty?
Again, Marty West, not
Marty
Walsh.
West. All right. We definitely want your name correct. All right. And
Can I just say throughout this, Arnie could have said it, I'm just saying it for him. He's listed as Arnie Feinstein and not Feinberg again, so.
that we'd like to correct that as well. We want names to be correct. So,
If that's the case, Feinstein never shows up, I'd say fire him and put Feinberg in because he does show up.
all right. So we want to make sure that it's Marty West and Arnie Feinberg. All right. And we will take care of that on all of the minutes. All right. Anything else? All right. I'd like to call for a vote on the motion to approve the minutes from Thursday, September 20, did you have a comment, a question? All right, you're just getting excited. To approve the minutes as amended on the floor. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? One abstention. Thank you. All right, now that we have finished the exciting minutes, our next item on the agenda is I'm going to entertain a motion to reopen the public hearing for the October 27th special town meeting for the following 3 articles, which are Article 5, the collective bargaining agreement for the Stoughton Public Works Department, AFSCME Union 362, Article 16, the purchase of 30 Porter Street property for town parking, and then Article 20, the school capital safety and security measures. We had a question on that about, exactly how much were they looking for what they were going to do.
So moved.
I have a motion to open it. I need a second. Thank you, Arnie. The motion to reopen the public hearing was made by Becca and seconded by Arnie. All right, we can start with Article 5, which is the collective bargaining agreement between the town and the Public Works Department.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to the members. Good news, bad news. Good news is we reached agreement with DPW at 4 o'clock today. Their executive board in its entirety signed, not the MOU, but the contract itself. The town signed the contract, and it didn't get to this table. So it can't be voted on this evening. I understand that. I do ask that the committee vote to either refer the matter to town meeting. I will not be asking you for a vote. That wouldn't be fair. As you know, it's got to be done by December 31st, or it waits till the following year. To either defer it to town meeting, or should you have one additional meeting between now and December 31st, that it be taken up at that time.
Wouldn't we have to take it up before town meeting?
No, but that it be done before December 31st.
So
That's the rule. If you can get it done before town meeting, but that's a big ask. I'm not going to ask it. If we have to, but the people will not get paid. The money is already in this year's budget.
No, I understand. I get the money, and I have the motions that where it needs to be transferred to within the budget, because we would have to have a motion to transfer. But generally, the practice is that we wouldn't vote to recommend approval of a contract without, we have how much it's going to cost and what's being transferred, but we don't have the memorandum, the MOA for the contract. We have 2 options as a committee. We can just pass on it and just refer it to town meeting without a recommendation at all and close the public hearing, or we can choose to meet at one more day. This would not go into the book, and then have continue the public hearing on that article only to another night between now and town meeting, and not half an hour before town meeting, to vote on, to discuss and vote, make a recommendation on the article. And I will defer to the
Madam Chair, if I may put out one piece of information that I know you understand, you just said it, I want to make sure all the members understand. The first year of this CBA is for this year. So they have not received their negotiated increases going back to July 1st. So to put it off another year, they'd get it retro, but for a working man and woman, that's a tough situation.
I don't want to make them wait a year, especially since, it's been a tight calendar, and I would say out of anybody responsible for the calendar, it's the select board, since they're the ones that picked the meeting date. I am deeply opposed to the past practice, which happened several years ago, of having, voting on contracts, 10 minutes before town meeting.
I agree with you.
And I do, I would prefer to vote on the contract and make a recommendation. I suspect I'm not going to have a huge issue with it, but I'm not going to make a vote without looking at the MOA.
Completely respect that.
So we have, but the way this works, so that everyone understands, the money is already in the budget, but it's in the Human Resources Department. Town meeting will have to move whatever funding is allocated for this year's salaries, and looks like we're talking roughly probably, what, $90,000 for this year?
Mike?
Your mic's, right. I'm just looking for an estimate right now. I just want to know roughly the amount.
Yeah, I mean, just from a format bookkeeping standpoint, the motion is saying it's coming all from Human Resources Department. Biz just corrected me while we're sitting here. It's actually coming from the Human Resources Department and the Water and Sewer
Okay,
Department.
yeah, okay, because some of
That's the
it's
only
coming from
change.
the enterprise accounts,
Yep.
the salaries that are covered under there. So there would be motions, the motion would be to transfer funds, roughly totaling $90,000 from the Human Resources Department, the Water and the Sewer enterprise accounts into the various public works departments to cover the various public works employees that are covered by this contract. And for those of you that are not aware, the Public Works Department is broken up into several departments. They each have their own budget item, and certain employees are in one budget item, certain employees are in another budget item, and some employees are in multiple budget items. So that would be what the motion is, all right? But we're also recommending approval when we make the motion to recommend approval, if that's what we so choose. We're also recommending the contract such as it is. So I prefer not to vote on a contract without the MOA.
Can we separate this out, though, that we focus solely on FY26 and then have a meeting to talk about FY27, 28?
I don't really think, I don't really think that's, it's either we're going to approve the contract and make the transfer or not approve the contract and don't make the transfer. All right, whether or not, if the contract, let's say town meeting did not approve of the contract, the motion may, they're only, town meetings only, they're tied together. We're only, people may ask the cost of the contract over the 3 years, which is what we have. Town meeting isn't going to be considering the 3-year cost of the contract in the motion, because the motion is only going to be for the cost of this contract. But whatever we approve for this contract means, once this contract's approved, we're responsible for it for the next 3 years. So I don't think separating it out is going to make a difference. The question is, if you want to come back and vote and discuss the contract, we can set a meeting date and continue this public hearing. If you don't, we can just refer it to town meeting and have no opinion whatsoever. Chet and Mark? Chet first, then Mark.
So when is the MOA going to get signed?
It's actually, Mark, through you, Madam Chair. We've got a step beyond the MOA. It is the actual CBA, the final contract, with the changes in that contract from the previous contract highlighted for you. So it's the actual final contract, and it is signed. It was a miscommunication of getting it from that office at 4 o'clock to this table.
Okay.
I've called 2 attorneys, and I haven't got an answer yet.
Okay.
So could we,
It is signed.
have the meeting next week?
Has it been approved by the board?
It has not been approved by the board, but we can have a special meeting by the board to do that.
Okay, because I
We
think.
do have another meeting for the board before town meeting,
Okay, because the way,
with the way it flows.
it needs to be ratified by the membership. It's been signed, as I understand, by the negotiating committee for the board
Right.
and for the executive board negotiating committee for the union. But it has to be ratified by the union membership and approved by the board. Do you have a timeline when that's going to happen?
If you had a meeting next week, everybody would work toward that end.
All
If you
right.
set a date, you're the one accommodating the union. It doesn't matter to us if it's done next week, next year, but it does matter to the men and women in the
No.
union.
That's what I
So
was saying.
whatever
If we
you
can
do
get all
to
this done
accommodate
by
them,
next Wednesday.
I'm sure the board will accommodate you.
That's the question, because Monday's a holiday. So I just want to make sure that when we set a date, if that's how we want to do it, that we're just setting a date and it's all been ratified by both sides. So,
We can bow to your schedule, and I can guarantee that the members of the union will vote on it before that meeting, and the select board will vote on it before you meet.
Okay.
And if we do that, then it's all square to get in the book
Right.
and get her
Then it's all
done.
squared away.
It will not necessarily get in the final motion, but the recommendation for that article will not go in the book because the book's going out in the morning.
What day is the book going out?
It has to get printed, so it goes out by Friday. So it's going to the printer, it's getting emailed tonight.
So it wouldn't be in the book.
But that's
You could
fine.
announce your vote.
We would just have we would put it on the virtual table and provide a recommendation or whatever at the time. But so,
I can tell you, Madam Chair, the men and women of the DPW would be very grateful if your committee members would do
I
that.
think that would be the plan and the.
okay, so do you want to do next Wednesday, next Thursday?
Madam Chair, please. I'd like to have this, brought in front of the board so we can vet it and the whole thing, but I don't see why we have to rush it. I think give the people in the town a little bit more time to get everything done, so we have full knowledge of what's happening, so we can vet it completely.
Okay,
I'm
so,
not saying we have to do it in a week, or
right.
maybe a
we
week and a
have.
half or whatever.
All right, so the special town meeting is Monday, the 27th. I would want to do it by like that Wednesday before. So we could either do it, if you like to meet on Wednesdays, next Wednesday or the following Wednesday. Either one is fine with me. The 15th?
15th?
You work, the 15th is next week. The 22nd is the following week.
Madam Chair, I cannot speak for the union, but I can't make a promise for them either. So it would be much safer if it was the following Wednesday.
I agree with that because I don't know what the bylaws are for
The
the,
22nd, Tom?
I think that would work, Chet.
I agree.
Thank you.
all right, so that gives the union a chance to have a ratification meeting next week, and then the board can vote on it whenever they meet. And it could all be done. All right. So I would like to, a motion to continue the public hearing on Article 5 to Wednesday, October 22nd. All right.
Second.
We have a motion. It was made by Chet and seconded by Becca to continue the public hearing on Article 5 and only Article 5 at this point to October 22nd. And I'm going to call for a vote on that motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions?
Thank
Okay,
all
that-
of you. We thank all of you very much.
Right, you're welcome.
Apologize for the inconvenience.
Yeah, it was unanimous on that one. Okay, so our next item in the public hearing is Article 16, the purchase of 30 Porter Street property for town parking, AKA where the house used to be next to the town hall. Jonna?
Yes, is there an amount for that yet? I didn't see it. Maybe it's
Okay.
there, but I didn't see it.
We will get, there is, I just need the motion to open, put it on the table. I need a motion to, all right, actually, we don't need a motion right now. All right, we do have an appraisal. I got it yesterday. I did not want to send it out to the whole Finance Committee group because there's a person on the Finance Committee email group that's no longer on the Finance Committee, and I just didn't want to distribute it yet. So could you remove her? I asked to have her removed, but I don't know.
If that's a Trish responsibility, if you just give me the name, I'll get it done tomorrow morning after the
Okay.
meeting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But if you could just tell us about the appraisal, because we do have an appraisal, explain what's going on with the property, and, we can, and I will, after that, once that's done, I will send everybody a copy of the appraisal.
Madam Chair, I'm going to step back and abstain from this discussion, whereas the property owner is a dear friend of mine.
Noted. Okay, Mark.
All right. Thank you very much. I won't go through the whole previous presentation of all the benefits, although if you would like me to recap, I certainly don't mind doing
It
that.
might help a one-sentence recap
Sure.
of why we might want
Real
to buy
quick.
this property.
I'm just going to tie it into that previous town meeting from 2023. This article was presented in 2023, exactly to buy the property next door. If you're Tom, it's over here, but it's actually right over there. It's a little inside joke that you may not know. But the article was for $440,000. That included the purchase price that the offer was $399, about $5,000 in due diligence, and $35,000 to take the structure down that was there. The structure is no longer there. It got demolished by the property owner. The site is now gravelled and accessible property. You can see right through it. There's no obstructions throughout the property. One of the big reasons why that article went down, that I believe, was because the building was there and we were paying to demo it. That's gone. Also, we claimed that there was 15 to 20 parking spaces that we could utilize for the future police station, but we didn't actually have a feasibility study completed at that time. It was more of a feel as opposed to an actual fact. Now the police feasibility study is complete, and I mean, I guess you'd rather be lucky than good, but it did yield another 15 or 20 parking spaces that would be needed for the police station. That's one option for the use of that property. Also, we were claiming how nice it would be and how well it would tie into our town hall parking plan that we had plans to do, but we never had it funded or fully designed. Since then, as you know, at last town meeting, I apologize for this side if I keep looking this way. I just realized I was doing that. So, at last town meeting, we approved an article for $1.2 million for the construction of the town hall parking and landscape project. That's complete, fully complete to that kind of accuracy, and now we know exactly how that parking lot ties in to that plan and the benefits. The net benefit would be an additional 18 parking spaces. So 18 additional parking spaces above what we had designed right now. Just to recap, the building's demolished. And obviously another small benefit, but from an engineering perspective, if you could relate it to, by having the drive aisle exiting a little further that way, it makes the grade in the front a little less steep. Not that it's going to be steep where you're sliding down a hill or anything. That would be the last benefit. The last hanging fruit on all this was what the appraisal was going to come back at, and we'd had discussions on is it going to be higher or lower. I told you I just didn't know. I honestly did not have a feel because I'm not an appraiser. We all had our gut feel, right? Like, what is it going to be? Everybody kind of was guessing what the number would be. So the first part is the appraised value. We got the appraised value back. We got the appraisal back. I had a long discussion with the appraiser to make sure he understands what's going on. I had questions with him regarding the new zoning that's in place and things of that nature, the square footage of the property and what could actually be built on the property, and his methodology of how he actually goes about his appraisal, because I know there are 3 approaches and I wanted to see what approach he used. There's actually only one approach you can use in a situation for land, and that's the cost approach. So I did my little test of what I know about appraisals, and he passed with flying colors. And he came back with the appraised value of $105,000. Now, the second part to this, and you do have a copy of the appraisal, I believe, or you?
I have a copy. It will be distributed to people
Okay.
afterwards, so you could look at it, but
It will be in the
the
backup.
appraised amount, and we'll say that the appraisal is legitimate
Yep.
and you're satisfied with the methodology used by the appraiser.
So I'm almost done. There's one other part to this. So the other part is reaching out to the property owner and seeing, is this a good price? Right? That was the other part to this. So I needed to wait for the appraisal. What is the number? That's our starting point. And then obviously people may not agree with that, or they have a higher asking price for whatever reason they may have. And that's exactly true in this situation. Okay, the asking price is higher than this. Before I get into that number, I mean, I'm literally here to be honest with you, to ask your advice, because everybody here are actually great representatives of town meeting. Physically, and some of you who are not town meeting reps are very smart, and you ask good questions. That will affect how I present this article at town meeting, to be honest with you. The asking price for this article is $399. It's the exact same number that was asked in the PNS last time, minus the building demolition cost. So the article was $440, now it's $399. My personal gut feeling on all this, if a number comes back somewhere, and this is just a mark feel, this is like me
Is
going
there a
with
PNS
my,
signed yet?
not yet. I'm literally kind of waiting to see how tonight goes before I even think of going that route, because we just got the appraisal back this week, and I just had the discussion yesterday, so there was no way to get a
Because
PNS.
again, I'm going to say, I'm not going to vote to purchase property without a PNS. We will be glad to give advice on this.
Well-
If you would think it would be done in 2 weeks.
We never can sign a PNS, only the selectmen can sign a PNS. So that only can be done when the funding is approved at town meeting.
Okay,
So that's a condition.
okay.
So just to kind of finish off, this number, again, you may all be thinking right now, that's too high, and then if this vote goes down 0 to 14, I'm not going to go to town meeting and say, hey, I think this is a great idea. I can say all the good ideas, but I'm not going to talk about the price because I don't feel comfortable about it. I want to look for your advice on this. I want a partnership on this to see if you think this is worth going. Because there's always going to be that range after the appraised value of what makes sense. We all have a different opinion on it based on what the benefits are for this project. For me, maybe my idea was, you know what, anything under the number 2 might make sense. Maybe 175, 150, I don't know. I'm just throwing darts at the board right now. All you may have a different number. There's no number that I can say is the right number because there's no equation we can come up to calculate that.
Okay, you'd like to get, and from what I understand, you want to get, you can't sign a PNS, I just want to make sure I'm understanding the process here. We can't sign a PNS until funding's been approved, but you want to know what number, right now, there's no agreement on a price between the town, between you and the property owner right now.
He
wants $399.
The offer right now on the table to the town is $399.
Right. And do you think what you're asking us, one, is if it's going to fly, if that would fly at town meeting, and we think that's appropriate. If not, you'd like to know what we're kind of thinking.
No, I think the number is the number.
All right, so
there was negotiation. The negotiation actually
So-
started off higher than that, if you can believe it.
Yeah, I
And
can.
we ended off with that number, so.
Okay. All right. So the price, all right, so the motion is, and it's going to be to purchase the property for a price of $399,000.
Correct.
Okay. No, that would be the motion that we would put on the town meeting floor, whether or not we vote to recommend it. That's what you're saying the motion
Correct.
would be.
Correct.
Okay. Becca?
So my question is, knowing how that property is zoned, thinking about the property owner of next door, I don't know who owns the Brazilian and the
Yep.
Bongo, the opportunity for them to buy this plot, to do something with it based on the zoning, or, who are we up against, basically? You asked the question of, what's the right number? You've gotten to $399. Do we recommend $399, or do we recommend something smaller or bigger? But realistically, who are we up against for this land?
So there's two abutters, us, and then the property next door is actually owned by the same property owner as the vacant parcel, even though the person who's in the lease next door is a different entity. Okay? So we've got, those are the two abutters, and then we have a street that abuts the other side that we own.
So basically, the property owner owns,
the abutting
He's
parcel.
not doing anything with that property.
he's not planning to expand onto that property.
I honestly, I could not answer that question. I mean, the private sector, I can tell you right now, it's zoned. There's 0 setback requirements. You can have a building from property line to property line. It can go up 5 stories. And then you have to have the proper parking space calculations. I think it's 1 space per unit.
probably get a
So they could
one-unit,
possibly
5
put
units.
a small building in the front and get parking in the back. I mean, there's going to be 10 ways. Something will go up on that property. I just can't tell you what it would be and when.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Arnie? Then Jonna? Then John?
Hi.
Hello.
The appraised value is 105. What did you say the costs were to the demolition of the building?
I believe the property owner paid 30,000, 35, something between 30 and 40,000.
Were there any other expenses involved in that?
We had to cut and cap the utilities, you could, things like that, probably another 5,000, but that's all complete, so that's already been done.
Does, I know that you're a Realtor. With something that's been, I don't know what the town assessor has assessed just that blank piece of property at. What percentage does the average house go for above the assessed property value in Stoughton?
That's a tough question to answer. I can answer the first part of your question because I looked at the property card and the assessor's values of the building because that was there until recently, and the land, and the land was valued at 200,000, plus or minus, not exactly 200, but in that ballpark.
Okay. What would you expect? John is a Realtor. What would you expect something that was assessed at $200,000 to sell for?
I would just ask Arnie if you could, through me to Jonna.
I'm sorry.
Jonna, could you just use your mic?
My apologies.
It's okay. No.
Through you, Madam Chairman. I guess I'd like to know if this is assessed at 105, 35,000 for demolition and 5,000 for other expenses, and possibly it was appraised by the town at 200,000.
I think you mixed up your words. It's assessed by the town at 200,000. The appraisal is for 105,000.
Correct.
The town assessed it at 200,000. What would a reasonable Realtor expect to sell it for?
Okay, and that's the question you're asking, Jonna.
Through you.
I appreciate that. And Jonna, what would you say?
And through you to Arnie, right? Okay. Thanks. I just think it's ludicrous to have it be appraised at 105, and we're going to pay $399. I'm sorry, that's just ludicrous.
That's exactly why we're having this discussion right now. Again, it's a partnership here. We're trying to talk about this. There's also one added piece that sometimes it can connect the dots, and I'm certainly not saying $399 is the right price, but it's another way to compare. If you owned a piece of property and the back of you had a landlocked piece of property that you could utilize, but it had no frontage, it would be worthless to anybody other than you. It's more valuable to you than anybody else. So that's why I said the property next door, there's a range of where it makes sense to pay a little more because it's more valuable to us, but I don't know what that number is.
Right. And I can understand that. That's, I think part of the problem for that property is even though anything could be built there and the owner may choose to do so, I think realistically his options are limited, and it's probably we are probably the most attractive buyer, and to us, we're probably using it for town parking is probably the best use that we could see, at least I could see as a town, than anything else going there. But it's figured out the amount. I think John, and then.
So I remember that meeting back in 2023 as when I was in FinCom at that point too. And one of the things I remember coming out of that night was not just the cost of demo, but the cost of removing an oil tank, I believe it was, from the basement, and the possible that may have ruptured, if there may have been some home heating oil in there that was unknown of. And so now the property's gone. Has the property been assessed for a ruptured oil tank? Is the soil contaminated? Is it not contaminated? Are we going to accrue an additional cost if we take this on where, hey, yeah, we took on our property, let's say a number, spitball is $275,000, just for a number out of thin air. And now we bought for $275,000. We got in under that $400,000 they asked for. We're great. However, now we've accrued a cost to clean up the site because it's now a contaminated site. Now we're just going to keep spinning our wheels, spending more money on a piece of property.
Right, so before we buy any piece of property, that's a good question, John. Before we buy any piece of property, a condition of what the select board has done is do a 21E environmental assessment. For the issue you exactly mentioned, there was an oil tank in the basement. I actually physically, I happened to be out there during the whole demo because I was very interested, as all you probably would have been if you worked at Town Hall. So I was out there taking a look at it. There was an oil tank in the basement, no signs of oil leaks. It was a solid basement floor, so if there was a leak, it would have been on concrete. All that was removed per code requirements. I physically saw that because I knew that question would come up, and that's why I wanted to see it myself.
Thank you. Becca? That was my question. Okay.
Yeah. The oil tank is always the question that comes up.
I remember that.
Every
yeah.
property
I remember that
comes up.
debate. I mean, okay. Jonna?
Excuse me. That was a good question, John, but going on with, a bank wouldn't even take a person wanting to spend $399 for something that was appraised at 105. I mean, it's just not good business sense, so I'll leave it at that.
Arnie? Oh, you, Mark?
Through you, Madam Chair. Do you have a guesstimate or an estimate on the value of a single parking space in the town of Stoughton Center? I know we just had the train station. How much was the value of like the 5 spots or the 10 spots that we?
I don't have specific data for Stoughton, but I do know years back, when, I don't know if you all remember, but there was going to be a parking garage in that Rose Street parking lot. I actually drew up plans for it for the town manager at that time. And the going rate for a parking space was around $10,000 back then. I don't know where they got the numbers from or what, but that was the number thrown around.
I thought there was a number. Okay, that's the one I was thinking of. Thank you.
Chet?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mark, if this goes through as $399, I don't think the town vote we're going to vote for it at town meeting. My question is, if it's appraised at 105 and assessor's value is at 2,000, why can't we back and negotiate with this person and maybe offer maybe 5% more over the appraised value? If not, I say we don't do it.
Yeah.
It's not worth that much money for 18 parking spots.
Those discussions have already occurred.
Okay, how are they coming out? Are they looking good, looking bad?
The $399 is where
Okay,
we ended
then
up.
I say no.
Yep.
Arnie? And then, did you have Tom? Ben?
Through you, Madam Chair. Mark, if my question may be moot, but if this guy is not willing to negotiate for less than $399, then personally, I think we're all done.
Agreed.
Dennis?
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Just wondering, how important is it to get those extra 15, 20 parking spaces to the town?
All right. I'll just recap. Number one, this would be more of a question for you. When there's 3 meetings going on in this building at one time, can you find a parking spot near the building? Even 2 meetings. Sometimes 1 meeting, and if it's very controversial and there's a crowd out here, it's complicated to find a parking spot, so you're walking a long distance. So there's one need there. Number 2 would be, with this police station feasibility study that got completed, and we need another 15 to 20 parking spaces. Again, we're not necessarily saying those are going to be the 15 to 20 parking spaces that we need for that municipal lot when they expand, but it gives you an option. Without that, you don't have that option. The issue is if you do want to build a new police station 3, 5, 10 years from now on that piece of property, you're going to need more parking spaces. That we've literally found that out through the analysis. And the only way of doing that may be having to buy one of those corner properties on School Street for $500,000-600,000. I don't know, or find a different site to put the police station on, and that's a reality. So, for those reasons, that would be the benefit right now. Again, a lot of that's future stuff that we haven't decided yet, so it's hard to put your finger on it, but that's an option.
Okay. And I mean, the reason that I ask is because if there's two abutters, and one is the actual owner. There's one abutter, it's us. And if there's a big difference, which there is, between 100,000, 105,000, and 399, he's forced to do something with it. He's not going to just sit on vacant land. And so if he has this large parcel that he can build, line to line, street to street, and go up 5 stories, there may be an incentive for him to add to his properties and then to add to the tax rolls. So
Correct.
that's.
You're right on point with that. Yep.
Becca, then Ian.
So looking at the assessor's database, and we looked at this back a few years ago when we were at the middle school for town meeting. So it was sold in 2009 for $150,000, so that's what he bought it for. And according to the assessor database, the total value is $322,000.
Right.
So if you're asking this committee our recommendation about the 399 number, I think what I'm hearing is that the 399 is kind of a pipe dream. That's just not, it's not worth that to us, especially with what's coming down the pipeline, just with funding in general. I know that I do recognize there is value in the land, in getting the land for the town. I don't agree that the value is $399. Am I comfortable with like a 200? I still think it's too much, but I think I'm comfortable saying 200. I think it's much more palatable, sort of split the difference. And the question is, does the owner want to get rid of the land? What is his goal? I know he owns a lot of property in Stoughton. But I guess my recommendation is 200, I think is sort of my ceiling.
Ian?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, what are the timelines that we're talking about? I know that we've got the whole parking lot renovation, so if we voted no today, how much more time is there to renegotiate? At what point are we, shovels in the ground, and then that's a moot point?
It's a good question. So special town meeting happens October 27th. Because this opportunity came up, we delayed the town hall parking lot project until the spring. So we probably go out for bid around December, January, depending the town meeting outcome of this article or not. It's still going to go out for bid, plus or minus. And then the next opportunity, if the building, if we want to give this property owner, say, a chance to put it on the market for whatever price he wanted to, would be the annual town meeting. That would probably delay the town hall bid in the construction of the project till next fall, and probably wouldn't be completed till the following spring, which it also could equate to a higher cost for the town hall project if we delay it for another few months.
I mean, I will say from my own point of view, I remember this article at town meeting, and I remember the debate, and part of it was, the police station confused, it definitely confused me. I do know, I will say for the property owner's benefit, big concerns were like the oil tank in the building. So he is, in a way, even though he may have lost value on the accessed property by taking the building down, he's given us some value because that's done. So we basically have a lot that would need to be, as I would say, graded and do whatever you need to do to make parking spaces. And as somebody that's tried to find parking on some nights when it's been very busy here, and if you want to see it, even come on Thursday evening when you have a 7 o'clock meeting and town hall employees are still working until 7, it's very difficult to find parking. If you really want to check it out, come tomorrow night and see what it's going to look like with the select board meeting. And I personally agree that we need the parking, and I would rather use it for parking, because we always talk about having enough parking in the town, one for town hall when it's open, and then for all the parking that, at night, it would get used likely, possibly, while people are visiting restaurants, etc. I am very skeptical that town meeting will vote $399 on this property, even though it seems strange. I think it gives us more value the way it is now than it was 2 years ago or 3 years ago, and it was because we know there's the oil tanks removed. There was no, we're going to do a 21E, but didn't look like anything. The building's removed, so, a lot of the questions that came up about the condition of the property at town meeting are no longer, they've been resolved. I don't think town meeting will go for 399. I would be inclined to spend more than 200,000. Because I think it's a unique piece of property. It's more value probably to us than anyone else.
Right.
And I think it's a good long-term value for the town to get parking spaces even before, I don't think you're going to sell it under anything over 300,000. I think 200, some people here are like 200,000, 100,000. I mean, I'd be willing to go more than that to a point, but I don't think you could go.
So, for what it's worth, my gut says the same thing. And I think other people can say I've had those exactly what you're saying now is what I've had in my gut.
Yeah.
So I concur.
Chet, and then Jonna.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mark, my question is going to be, or my comment actually, if this person is not willing to negotiate and staying firm at 399, and we're going to hold up our project for the parking at Town Hall and beautification of the Town Hall, then just forget it. Start bidding on what we already have plans for.
Yeah.
Don't even include that part.
I mean, that ship is unfortunately already sailed because the way it happened is we would have been out for bid prior to this month, September, and the construction would have already occurred. So we've kind of, now that we have to go out for bid and award the contracts, we're talking probably November, December timeline. You can't start construction on a town hall project then, especially when a lot of it involves curbing and pavement work and concrete work and things like that. So we're already delayed till the spring.
Okay.
And just to correct you, Chet, I don't want to say there was a great negotiation. There certainly wasn't, but the number did start higher than 399.
Well,
So.
even that, it's,
For what that's worth.
I mean, for that small parcel of land, that's crazy.
Yep.
And I just don't, because if you look at it, you're going to pay, if you do it, $399 for the property, then we're going to put a couple more, probably $500,000 into grading it, paving it, striping it, everything else. So you're looking at a hell of a lot more money than $399 for 18 parking spots.
The second part of that, we're able to do a lot of that with town forces, and there won't be any impact to the budget. So.
How do you mean it's not going to be an impact on the budget? You still have to buy asphalt?
Because we have 1.2 million and we build contingencies into that. Now that we have a full design completed, we know the contingencies are much less. So what I'm saying is within the approved budget, we should be able to get the additional work complete. So there won't be.
Budget for the project, not the town budget.
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry, for the project.
Oh, that's what I'm
the
saying.
project budget, yeah.
Okay.
I got confused for a second, that's
Yeah,
why.
sorry
I was a little confused. I didn't know which, you talk about the project.
There's all kinds of
you talk
budgets
about
everywhere,
town.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Jonna? Arnie?
Through you, Madam Chair. This is sort of a question for you. What if we came up with a number as a group and made a recommendation so that Mark can go back to the owner and say, this is what they're willing to go with?
We could do that, if that's something that the committee is inclined to do. We can recommend whatever we want.
I'll leave it up to you. How do we go about doing that?
I think what we would do is, when it comes time for a motion on what we want to do with this article, we would make, if you want to make a recommendation, that we would recommend the town enter into this type of a negotiation, provided that the price was no more than whatever number we set. And that's how we would make the recommendation. That would be the motion we would recommend.
Thank you. I'd like to do that if we could.
Okay. Dawn, you wanted to say something, then I'll take the motion.
I'm sorry, this, through you to him. Is there a deadline on this negotiation with the owner? Since he does own a lot of piece of the properties within Stoughton, is he willing to, are you in constant negotiations with him, or is there a deadline? Because if we could split the baby in two, that would be something I would go with what Rebecca said. So I was wondering on that. Thank you.
Yeah, so he's been communicating quite frankly, and he's been very responsive. So I would say, obviously, the deadline would be prior to town meeting. That's the absolute deadline. But having guidance from your board as recommended, I think is a great idea for me. Gives me a little fuel, and I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. Jonna?
Just two quick little things. If you said that he was starting out higher than $399, which is more like the initial price that we were starting out with at town meeting 2 years ago, it doesn't seem like he has a very accurate perception of cost, or, I mean, even the fact that it was it was appraised at 105. I mean, if he even came in at 150 or something closer to the appraisal, it's just, I don't think there's negotiation with this person.
I think, just may I, Jonna, I think part of the issue here, like, it's such a unique piece of property, and there is like very, I don't think there are too many customers. I think it's really hard to get any sense of like what is a fair negotiation. He's going to his goal is to get as much as he can for that. And he knows that the town is probably the most interested party in that property because, but I think I think all of the numbers out there, like the appraiser or the assessed price or whatever, it's not quite the same as like, oh, you get your house, you're buying a house, you get it appraised, you get, I think it's a difficult piece. So I think that's important to note that the cost was, and I can share the cost, but I think here, to some extent, he may be trying to negotiate, however he's trying to negotiate, and the town's trying to negotiate, but I think trying to figure out what their positions are is probably not going to be worth it because it's just it's a weird negotiation.
Okay, and then the only other thing, I appreciate what you're saying, it makes sense. The only other thing I'm thinking of is you're talking about no parking. I mean, to have extra 18 spaces is nice, there's nothing to argue about that. But don't we have a lot of the train spaces? I mean, I don't understand why everyone's acting like we don't have any spaces.
I think some of the spaces are for town hall business, like if you're coming to town hall at night or you're coming during the day, and it's all, remember that whole back parking lot that we might use tonight is full for town hall employees.
Right.
So if you're trying to park here during the day, it might be very tough to find the parking. There's the parking spaces over at the train station that are for the town, but then there's the parking spaces at the train station that are for the MBTA. And well, I think on weekends and evenings, people park there, and
and don't
not
forget,
evenings, but weekends.
it's going to be an active community center too, so those parking spaces would be
Right.
utilized for that. Probably during a lot of the same times we're talking about,
Okay,
time frame.
thank you.
But, so I guess what I understand is we want to entertain a motion that we'd recommend approval of we would recommend approval of the article provided that the price of the purchase was no more than blank. And now we need a blank, a number for the fill in the blank.
I think that's what she's.
Suggestion?
Yes.
To make it easier, instead of bounce around, we could just start at one end, with Dom, what's her price, what's his price, and then just get that way.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Instead of like, all right, I want this, I want to go back and forth, just start.
All right, just everyone kind of give an idea of what they think the consensus is. If you have one, if you don't have one, pass. All right, Dawn, we'll start with you if you have one.
My suggestions between 2 to 250, 250 being the very most, but try to keep it low.
Okay. I'll go with 250 as your upper number, because we're going to go no more than in the motion.
Pass.
I'm also at 250.
I agree.
Same 250.
I will pass the moment. I really don't. I would probably take up to 300,000, but I'm happy with 250.
I'm going with my max at 205.
Chet?
I'm going to say 225. I'll give 5% over.
I'm going to pass.
I'm going to agree with Mark, 205.
205?
I'm going to pass.
Thank you. I don't like taking the property off the rolls if this guy's going to be squeezed, so I'd stay at 105. Let him build something there, or let it sit, and if not, we get it for a song.
Okay.
I'd go 250.
250?
I do think the town needs parking spaces, right? I mean, that's indisputable, I think.
Can I change my name to, my number to 215-1?
Okay. I'm going to go with 250 for the start with the motion, just because it seemed like it was the number that was the most, it came up the most. All right? So we'll entertain, the motion that I will entertain is that the Finance Committee will recommend approval of Article 16, provided that the purchase price is no more than $250,000.
So moved.
So motion, I need a second. All right, so motion was moved by Becca and made by Becca and seconded by Mark. All right, discussion on the motion, or do we just want to vote?
Vote.
I'm all in favor of that. So all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
And raise your hands as well so we can count. 9. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All those opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Any abstentions? All right. So we can say that the motion to recommend approval no more than 250 passed 8-5, and you can take that the other people wanted a lower price, more around 200,000, and then we had one that wanted the 105, or you can communicate that. 2 wanted the 105, yep. And then.
No problem. I'll have them rewatch this episode of Price is Right.
Comment on this in the book, but it may have to wait for supplemental because I'm not sure I can formulate all of this tonight after the meeting.
The question's going to come up at town meeting about why FinCom voted this way.
Right. Well, I will explain why. We played the price was right. We came up with numbers.
We were working together. Yeah. Mark was looking for advice. This is how this came about. So.
I did. I will credit to you at town meeting if I use it there, all right? All right, having move on to Article 20, which was the last part of the public hearing. And this was the article on the school, the fencing, and we kept the public hearing open. The superintendent could not be here tonight. It's a building committee meeting for the new elementary school. I sent out the email. The price that they're looking on is for $51,500. they're looking solely for fencing at the Dar and the Gibbons, I believe. And the funding source is that old article on vestibules, and that's it. Because that's where our confusion was. So we kept this open since we were keeping the public hearing open at the other meeting. So the questions that we had at our last meeting were, the article is written, that was written in the warrant, had a 64,000 roughly cost, and it had several articles where the funding was coming from, and it was confusing, and we did not know the actual funding amount and source. So the funding amount for the Article 20, for the security measures, the fencing at the schools, is $51,500, and the funding source is the vestibules articles, which is actually, the reference of it is in the warrant. And so, having said that, do we want to discuss the need for the fencing and the security at the school, or are we ready to make a motion and recommend on a vote on that article?
I'm ready to make a motion.
Any questions first? Okay. We will try to answer them. The superintendent apologized that he could not be here tonight because he was at the last meeting and did whatever the presentation was. But go ahead and ask your questions.
I understand the need for the fencing around the HVAC equipment, but why around the playground at the Daw School? Was that explained?
If I recall, it's a safety issue.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, may I? According to the estimates that were submitted, it's to allow privacy at the Daw School, as well as having a high 8-foot fence, as well as privacy screening at the school on that fence.
So the fencing around the Daw playground would be taller and with privacy screening, so that it wouldn't, the children playing wouldn't be as visible.
Correct. That's what the estimate appears to be.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Does that answer your question?
Maybe I looked at the quote. I thought it was 4-foot fencing around the playground, but I might be wrong about that.
That's okay.
So it looks like over $100 per linear square foot on the 4-foot fencing, and over $100 on the 8-foot. Did we get more than one company to come in and?
Biz, the question is, did we have more than one company give an estimate on the price? And how will this, if it's approved, how will it be purchased?
The school department is in charge of doing their own quotes and purchasing. The only quote that I received, we had one quote for $35,000 for the Daw School, and the second quote was for the Gibbons School. So you should have a copy of these quotes in your packet. If you want to refer to those, that's the only information I can give.
So will they have to then, once it's approved, put it out to bid for the fencing, or?
The school has a different bid process than the town. They have a level of, I believe, due to Municipal Modernization Act that was voted most recently, the schools don't have to bid for anything under 100,000.
Right, so
Towns do, but schools don't.
All right, so the fencing is for the two schools. Arnie?
I'd like to, Ben had a very good question. Is that 8-foot fencing? Can you confirm the height of it? 4-foot is useless, because someone can jump over that.
The only thing I can say to the committee is to please refer to the quotes that were submitted.
Right.
That is going to be your best source of information.
Okay.
Yeah, I will apologize. I am not an expert on fencing at all, and when this was first brought before us, the superintendent was here, and he was able to explain more. At this point, he's not here because he has another commitment, and we're trying to do the best you can. I would suggest that despite whatever we vote tonight, if you do really have questions, I would contact the superintendent and tell him that, to ask him those questions, because Ben, you have some good questions, and I think he would be able to explain the process better than I'm going to stumble through it right now.
Just to finish up, Chet has confirmed it's an 8-foot fence.
An 8-foot fence. Okay,
Thank
Dawn?
you.
Pardon me, I'm sorry. I remembered the last time they said it was a 4-foot fence, so I just wanted to make sure it's clear, 8 foot or 4 foot.
Jet?
I have to quote, Madam Chair, I have the quote in front of me, and it says install 93 linear feet of 8-foot-high galvanized chain link fence to include 2 15 double-wide gates, or drive gates, and 1 12-foot double-wide drive gate. Fence and gates will have privacy slats with color to be determined by the customer. So the quote is for 8-foot-high galvanized fence on both schools.
Marty?
I did read that today, and something in there, I don't have it with me, was 4 feet.
Yeah, there's location B.
There's one spot that does have 34 linear feet of 4-foot-high galvanized chain link fence, but it's on the wide walkway. So there is part of it's going to be 4 feet, but most of it, 93 linear feet, is going to be 8 foot high. Does that clear everything up? Thank you.
Thank you, Chet. Jonna?
Just for clarification, you're saying, Biz, that the school doesn't take bids, they just go to one contractor and that's it? If it's under, I think you said 100,000 or whatever the amount is, I'm just for clarification trying to make sure they don't get more than one bid?
The school department follows best practice in all purchasing, just like the town does. But going out to bid is different from the school. You have to go out for bid for 100,000 and above. The town requirements are different. The school follows Chapter 71, and the town follows pretty much every other law on the book. So that's how
yes,
that breaks down with the procurement laws.
Okay, so the answer is yes. Thank you.
I think they got one quote, whether or not they will go with this quote or whatever quote. They may go around and shop and do whatever they think is the best quote. They got one for the purposes of the town meeting article. I think the question is, for this type of article, the school doesn't have to put it out to bid. They can shop around and choose a person based on how much we authorize them to spend. They just can't spend more than what we authorize them. Any other questions, comments? I would suggest for those of you that do have more questions about the project, really reach out to the superintendent, and he can probably give you a lot more details. And it's really good when finance committee members meet with them and get some of these questions answered. It's good for you, and I won't say it's good. It's good for them too, even if they don't like it. Okay, any other discussion? All right, do we have a recommendation? Remember, I'm only entertaining positive recommendations here, so a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the transfer?
No, it's the motion to recommend approval of the article for the purchase of fencing at the price of $51,500.
So moved.
Although, we have a motion made by Becca and seconded by Chet to recommend approval of Article 20, the school seeking to purchase fencing for the Dar and the Gibbon schools at the amount of $51,500. All those in favor of the motion, say aye and raise your hand. Okay. Did you get it? All those opposed? Are you opposed? All right, one opposed. Any abstentions? 2 abstentions? All right, so we have 13, so 10, 1, and 2. Dawn and Ben. Okay. We have 13. How many do we have here? People? 13. Hey, it's been a long day. And we haven't really. All right. Having that, we've actually combined our votes with the public hearing, so I am going to, John? We're going to get to that. I will entertain a motion right now to close the public hearing for the town meeting with everything with the exception of Article 5 and the public hearing, the Finance Committee public hearings for the special town meeting for Article 5 only will be continued to Wednesday, October 22nd at 7 p.m. at the Great Hall.
So moved.
All right, so that motion is made by Becca and seconded by Chet. All right, so all those in favor of the motion to close the public hearing, except for Article 5, which will be continued to Wednesday, October 22nd, say aye and raise your hands.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Anyone abstaining? All right, so the public hearings are now closed for all articles except for Article 5. And now we need to discuss Article 10, which was the question that came up. We voted on all the other articles last Thursday and made recommendations other than Article 15. Not Article 10, Article 15, the theater, the state theater demolition. And there was a question that was raised by Joel that there was a question as to whether it was illegal use of the building stabilization fund to fund, a construction or demolition of a building that's not owned by the town. And we did get an opinion from town council, which basically says that depending upon how our building stabilization fund was established, and I don't know if that was ever finalized as to when it was established, the building stabilization fund money can be used for any municipal use that's related to a building. So it could be said that demolition in the town because there's a health issue or a safety issue is a legitimate municipal use. So it would be an appropriate use of the funds. That was from the town council, from Brian Winter. And again, I will forward you that email once our email situation is addressed. All right, so that was the question that came up. Did we have other people, more discussion about voting on the town, about voting to demolish the state theater? All right, Arnie, then Chet.
I have some concerns about that. If we're putting some money into that, $1 million, who's going to buy a piece of property with $1 million lien on it? If I was purchasing something like that, it's still a pig in a poke.
I think if I'm purchasing it, I'm not going to care who the lien is on because it's not going, that's going to mean the money, that's the seller's money. That's getting off the top. I'm going to pay the price anyway, and it means the seller doesn't get it, this town does.
The whole point is what if they don't sell it? We're stuck for that $1 million. I don't think it's a good value for our money.
Okay. That's, Jonna, Chet, you have something? Did you want to make?
Yes, Madam Chair, this is Mr. Coulter. Hi, sir, how are you doing? Good. How's the negotiations going with this gentleman?
Mark's the one speaking to him, so I think Mark should speak to that.
Okay.
I updated you at the last meeting, I believe, about the discussion I had on the phone, about kind of saying, listen, before town meeting, it's really be wise for you to actually pull a demolition permit and start doing some of the work, or else type of thing. Since that, they have pulled a demolition permit for selective demo inside to do some of those investigations for the adjoining walls. You got to pull bricks off. It's a very small demo project, so it's like taking this wall apart and just pulling pieces off and seeing what's inside and how to come up with the plan for phase 2. That's all they're doing right now. Very minor work, but it shows that they're starting to investigate the issue. Yeah.
That was my question, see if they're starting to do something or if they're really interested in, taking down the building without putting a lien on it.
Yeah.
We don't have to put the $1 million.
I would refer to that as the bare minimum.
Well, obviously.
Yeah, because I would suspect that any demolition would take that approach that he's doing right now about the cautious demolition, checking in. That's not, we just wouldn't get a wrecking ball in there and crash it down.
You'd be very worried. Sorry, I didn't realize I was going to be talking, so I was sucking on this candy over here. Lost my train of thought. Could you just repeat
All right,
your question?
what I said is, I'm presuming that the appropriate way to do a demolition for this type of building would be as he's doing right now with the little mini ones, investigations first, as opposed to just getting a wrecking ball and crashing it all down, which is what would come to my mind.
Yes, if you want me to forget my thoughts, just feed me the biggest piece of candy you can at town meeting. Because that's literally what just happened. But yes, I would be very concerned if they just came in with a full-fledged demo permit right off the bat, and I'd have a whole set of other concerns.
Okay.
But they are doing it the right way.
Okay, I think that would be my concern. Tom?
Madam Chair, back to, I think, Arnie's question. We're asking for $1 million to have the right to tear that and have the leverage on that building. And then we get to charge interest on the lien, on the property, substantial interest. If it averages out between the first half and the second half, the first half would be a lower interest rate, the second half would be a higher interest rate. But it would average out to be a double-digit interest rate earned on that money should we spend it to tear down that property. That's better than the investments we've got on our cash on mutual funds right now. Now, the question to the value, that is in the center of downtown. Just like the discussion we had a couple of minutes ago about Porter Street, that property is worth more as a vacant lot than it is with a dilapidated, condemned building because it's in the downtown district. So should it be sold, the money that we put into it, plus the interest it's earned, comes to us first, and then it would be to the owner of the building second. I am not concerned whatsoever that would recover all of our principal and all of our interest. Now, should the event they don't pay it, well, then it would go into tax title. It would go into tax title, and then we could take the property, very simply. So, but the real issue here, and I don't mind saying it out loud, the owner is taking affirmative action toward moving towards demolition. That's all good news. After 15 years, the only reason he's doing that is because this issue is before town meeting. If we don't pass this, I do believe all activity will stop. And we'll have another 15 years like we did with the hole in the ground. If you pass this, it doesn't mean we have to spend it or tear it down. It means we've got the money to do so should we choose, meaning the town. But it gives us the leverage and the standing to keep the gentleman moving to take care of that building. If the fire chief were here and presented what he did to the historical commission the other night, or the building inspector, you will see the building inspector's letters in your package. Over the course of 15 months, every demand notice has been ignored. The fire department inspected that building approximately 6 months ago, and that's what led to the condemnation 3 weeks ago by the select board. The fire chief calls it the most significant, clear, and present danger in the town. Because of the connection of the entire side of that block, if there's a fire in that building, if someone were to drop a firecracker in that building and it ignited, they would have to fight it from outside, which means the entire block would likely be lost, the entire block. So we just ask for your support on this. We're going to ask town meeting for their support on this so that Mark continues to have the leverage he needs to move this action forward and get done what we got done on the hole in the ground. There's a pattern here. Mm-hmm. We use the leverage that we've got to get people to stop using our downtown as an illegal warehouse and that's what it's been used at for 10 years. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I have a question. Who would make if we approve this, who would actually decide that the town was going to go demo the building?
If it's approved, what would happen is the gentleman would write to us, and he'd say, give us time, we're going to do it ourselves because it's much cheaper. And Mark would negotiate, as he does with every contractor, to say, how much time do you need? So let's say he says 90 days. I think Mark would graciously say, that's reasonable. Show us your engineering plan that you're going to do it correctly. We'd rather you do it in 90 days correctly than tomorrow incorrectly.
Right.
And, Mark's the head of that department, and he would make that decision based upon what's in the best interest of the downtown community.
Okay. Dawn?
I have questions, and I'm sorry to bring this up. So I want to make sure, you said that it was condemned 3 weeks ago by the building commissioner and the fire department. And also, the other question is, the Friends of the Stoughton Theater, for some reason are saying that the building's not condemned because they had things that were in the building that now is no longer in the building, so it's not condemned. So I wanted to have that clarified, if you may.
As we discussed over lunch when we met each other, facts are friendly. The select board of your town voted 3 weeks ago what's called a legal vote of condemnation. The building had been labeled as a hazard for almost a year by the building inspector and the fire department. 3 weeks ago, only the board, the policymakers of the town, can condemn a building. And they took the formal vote of condemnation. The owner was notified by certified receipt requested. That is what caused the accelerated action to move on the building. And now, if town meeting funds the condemnation, it'll be a negotiation between Mark and the owner as to when it comes down. I'm sure it's Mark and the engineer for the owner, when the building comes down. There is no question at all that it is a clear and present danger. Now, with respect to the Friends of Stoughton Theater, that is run by a gentleman named John Stagnoni. He is asking $2 million from CPC. The building owner is not participating in that ask. It's unrelated to the ownership of the building. And so we're dealing with the owner. We're not dealing with Mr. Stagnoni or the Friends of Stoughton Theater. They have no standing in this. Thank you.
Mark? Jonna? Mark, then Jonna?
One is the sunset clause, and how will that affect the timeline? And I know you said like 90 days. Let's say he's like, I need a year and a half.
Mark, you mean with respect to the historical delay that they can cause to demolition? I'm sorry, I don't know what that is.
Our article sunset clauses that we.
Oh, you mean in town? I thought you meant in construction.
Look,
safety would be paramount, and again, I trust and I know you all do in Mark's engineering judgment. As soon as this passes, there'll be an immediate conversation between the owner and his engineer and Mark and town council and myself. And we will negotiate a work plan. And the work plan is under the hammer of, if you don't do it, we will do it. Now, the question is, and I hope that it will be done this year, within 12 months.
It would not take the 3 years that would trigger the sunset clause?
It would not.
That's what
I'm sorry, I misunderstood. What I thought you were referring to, and although not asked, I think it should be answered because it's in the public domain. I was told that the Historical Commission may utilize their right to protest the demolition of the project, which I believe they can do for 6 months, if it's a historical building. This building is not a registered building. Because it's old, does not mean it's a historical building. It's just old.
But if they do, and it's successful, I'm not saying it is or isn't, all right? But if they do, just what would the process be? It would delay it 6 months?
Well, if they do that, in light of the fact that the fire department has declared it a clear and present danger to our entire downtown, we would be forced to go into municipal court and seek injunctive relief on the basis that they're holding up a project on an old building that does not have a historical designation, and there's a clear and present danger of losing the downtown.
No,
We would fight it.
Okay, no, I understand that. What I'm just trying to make sure that people understand. The Historical Commission has the right to do whatever they want to choose to do with that building, and whether or not it is historical, it's definitely historical. Whether or not it is a legitimate historical landmark with a designation, I don't know.
No,
I will say no, it isn't. Whether it makes a difference in their provisions in their statute, I do not know because I have not read it in any recent time. So, but either way, it would delay it, but it would not necessarily prevent it, but there would be a process by which that would be resolved.
Madam Chair, I agree with the first part of your statement. They can do whatever they choose to do. It doesn't mean it'll be binding. If they took that vote, because it's a clear and present danger, if it was just a developer's project, what's the 6-month delay? No problem. We wouldn't fight it at all. But the reality is, it's causing a danger to the entire downtown. So we would be forced to go into municipal court, seek injunctive relief on the basis that it is a danger to the downtown district, and it does not have a historical designation. This fallacy that because it's old, it's got historical significance, the statute is clear. The Massachusetts Historical Commission, who we're working with on the train station, which is a historical site, has made it clear to us it either has a historical designation or it doesn't.
Right.
That it's old does not make it historical.
I will not necessarily sure of the statute definition, if your interpretation of what's historical is correct. I will say to members of the community, it does have a historical significance. Whether or not that significance is sufficient to outweigh the need to demolish it, I don't know. But as I understand from what you're saying, there is a process by which that would be resolved if that was if that's how it came to be.
And I must say, I met with the Historical Commission the other night, and they shared, they're all reasonable people.
Right.
They shared the fire chief who was present, real concern about the impact that a fire there would have on our downtown. They're not unreasonable people.
No, I'm not expecting
heard
that.
the
I just
information.
want to make sure, for my own knowledge and for people that are watching it, it's not, it may, because I know there will be people that are going to come up and say, it's historical. They may not, if they may not care that it has a designation or not, and I don't know what the statute requires, but all I'm saying is, if that happens to be made, there is a process that it will be resolved.
That's correct.
And that's all that I'm looking for right now. I'm not.
And by the way, did I tell you that I'm 6'6"?
Yeah, I didn't believe that. So, Chet,
Are you done, ma'am?
Yeah.
Okay. No, I'm just asking. I don't want to cut her off.
No.
Madam Chair, I think this place should be torn down. And as far as the exploratory of the building, taking the bricks out, check, they have to do that. That's prior to demolition. They have to know what's behind it. So that's part of the demolition plan. So that tells me that they are definitely looking at tearing it down. Second of all, and I talked to Mr. Coulter about this a while ago, if we tear it down, I really don't like to see a hole in the center of town like we had before with fencing around it. I don't know if it's possible, but if we can shore up the frontage of it, keep the frontage so it looks good, take the rest of the building down. I don't know if that's possible, it may cost money, but I think look a lot better than having a chain link fence over there. Personally, that's my.
Sure, I appreciate that, Chet. I would have to, at the time, defer to the engineers who would decide if that would be structurally possible and safe. To me, the paramount issue is the safety. I know you agree on that.
No, I agree, but I'm just looking at, because it's going to take a long time before we build anything there. And if we can just keep the facade there, make it look good for the whole block. And if it's possible, I know you can do it. I know it can be done, but it may cost a couple of bucks, but I think it'll look a lot better. It won't be that blight that we had on the other side of the street. So that's my ask. Thank you.
Jonna?
Thank you. Mark, I just wanted clarification. I'm presuming that it cost $1 million to demolition this whole, the whole building? Is that what I'm to presume? Is that, I just want clarification on that. I'm just not clear.
Right. So that is an estimate based on, part of that is based on quotes for actually demoing the building. Part of the issues are unforeseen conditions, so we would have to do an environmental assessment on the property if there's asbestos and things like that. We rolled in contingencies for items like that. Actually coming up with a demo plan and hiring an engineer to do that is a cost that would be rolled into that cost also. So we feel $1 million is more than enough to accomplish those 3 or 4 items I just mentioned.
Okay, so you don't think it's going to exceed that then?
I don't believe so.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Cynthia?
Cynthia Walsh, 1096 Park Street. I'm trying to follow. Have you taken this off the table? According to my notes, you tabled your recommendation. So are you discussing, did you take it off the table and now you're discussing what recommendation you're going to make to town meeting?
Yes, I guess we are, although we did not take a motion to take it off the table, so we will take a motion to take it off the table. Thank you.
So moved.
All right, so our motion to take this off the table and then continue our discussion has been made and seconded, made by Becca, seconded by Chet. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. Any other? Oh, no questions. Cynthia, anything else that I am messing up?
Just a point of information, the theater was built in 1928, so it's not even 100 years old.
Thank you. Ingrid?
I just had a question. If the building is unsafe and we don't do this $1 million thing, isn't the town not doing their due diligence, and doesn't that open us up for liability if something does happen, like a fire and people get hurt?
It's a great question. The town is required to do its due diligence and take the appropriate action. If the money is not approved, then we're not able to perform on that action. And the owner can continue to do nothing, and the most we can do is fine him, but that doesn't remove the safety problems that it has. It's a great question. Thank you. Did that answer it? Thank you.
Anyone else? Questions, comments? Ben?
Do we have an assessed or appraised value of that lot? What it's valued at?
We can get it, although I did not prepare for that for tonight. My apologies.
The lot contains everything basically from avocados up to the building with the tiles that has the tax office. The tax office, that building with the tiles isn't included. Everything else is part of that building.
And just as a point of information, Ben, he's got that block, the building, avocados, the stores next to it, right up to that textile building. Is it a textile building?
The tax billing, the one that has the,
He's got it, he just listed it for $4 million.
thank you. Jonna? Go ahead, it's all right?
Just a quick question, Mark. Are you thinking of putting something in there that would lean residential or lean commercial, like retail or something?
Right now, we would be just talking about the demolition, and we can't predict what the future would be. Again, we would just be demoing the building that's on the property. We wouldn't own the property at that point. We're just demoing the property. It's still owned by the owner.
That's right.
So kind of it's in his hands.
Yep.
Of whatever the downtown zoning allows, they could put on that piece of property. So probably very similar to what you've been seeing going on in the downtown.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, I guess we can, our motion is to recommend approval of Article 15 as printed in the warrant, that money would be coming from, $1 million coming from the Building Stabilization Fund to fund the demolition of the State Theater.
So moved.
All right, motion's been made by Becca, seconded by Chet. Thank you. All right, I'm going to call for a vote on the motion. I'm just going to wait a second for Mark to sit down. Sure.
If this money wasn't spent, are you going to put it back?
If the owner takes the building down on his own, there'll be no money spent on that.
Okay. Yes, Arnie?
Does that mean the money will not be taken out of the stabilization fund until or unless it's needed?
Once we make the vote at town meeting, it automatically comes out and goes into the project account. It's still bearing interest, it's just bearing interest in a different way, if that's the question.
May I just ask another? So if we wanted that to, say it's not used, and we wanted that to go back to the stabilization fund, how do we do that?
Just like every other town meeting article that we've been doing in the last year or so, it will go to town meeting to vote to put it back into the fund in which it came out of, any balance. And/or town meeting could use it for another purpose that would be a similar purpose, but it would go back to town meeting for your vote.
So there would be another article that would say we want to revoke whatever the authorization was and return the money to the stabilization fund.
Correct, which is exactly what we did in, I believe, in the fall of last year, and we did some in the spring of this year. It would follow the same logic.
With like the borrowing and stuff.
Yes, it would go right back, okay?
I was wondering the same thing, Arnie. All right. I'm going to call for vote. All those in favor of the motion, say aye and raise your hand so we can count. Aye. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All those opposed? 3. Any abstentions? Not hearing any. Okay. The motion to approve, recommend approval carries 10-3. Going through. I do not believe there is any other business for the chair. At least I do not see any. Does anyone feel the need for any business? So I will entertain a motion to adjourn, and then our next meeting will be Wednesday, October 22nd at 7 p.m. and here solely on the collective bargaining agreement.
Motion to adjourn.
And again, Madam Chair, we thank you for reconvening for that.
All right, so we had a motion and a second. The motion to adjourn was made by Becca, seconded by Jonna. And all those in favor of motion of adjourning, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, the meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Biz.